Hello and welcome back to Read Becca. This is my weekly catch up on everything I have read, everything I'm reading, and everything I'm looking forward to reading in the coming week. So let's jump right into what I read because I only finished one thing this week, and that was Antigone Rising, The Subversive Power of Ancient Myths by Helen Morales, and I loved this. I think I'm going to have to do a standalone review of this one, so I won't talk too much about it here. But this is just a short collection of essays. It's about 150 pages. I think, unfortunately, this flew under the radar because it came out in April of 2020. I feel like this would have been all over the place because it's so punchy and has a lot to say. This is relating the ancient myths and antiquity, the things they were grappling with, using the myths at the time, to our modern world, and that we're still grappling with many of the same things, and the way those interconnect. And it's very hard-hitting, yet funny as well. So it tackles topics everywhere from diet culture to Me Too to femicide in Mexico. And I do think this comes through an entirely feminist lens, but it's tackling topics more broadly than that. So I just really loved this. I thought this was fantastic and easy to read. It's one of those that is not a super deep dive because it is just really pacey and punchy and moving along, but it has references at the back that I want to buy every one of the hundreds of references that are in there. So it's one that you can definitely use as a jumping off point to get much deeper into all of these topics. The other one was not so successful because I DNF'd it, and that was The Children of Virtue and Vengeance. This is the second book following Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, and it was quite a disappointment. The first book I thought was okay. The world building has been the strength of both of these, really, I would say, and it is in an African-based setting with Orisha magic. And in the first novel, we had three primary characters in perspective that are all kind of on a quest to bring back magic. It's very tropeful, but it was okay. I decided to pick this one up and try it out. I know there's been a lot of mixed response to it, and unfortunately it did not work for me. So the main reasons for that were, let's get into the positive stuff first, I guess. So starting out at the beginning of this was actually much stronger than the first book, I thought. Things had progressed. So we are looking at a war between the people that are pro and anti-magic, and you're seeing oppressive peace turn into war. And I thought that was being handled pretty well. It reminded me a little bit of reading The Burning God from the Poppy War series a few months back. And I was seeing kind of echoes of similar themes and similar storytelling there. And it was a bit like, okay, this is not quite as good as that, but this is doing the same thing pretty well. And really tackling a lot about class as well. Talking about the ruling class and the disparity with the peasant class. So I thought that was great, and it stayed much more character focused, I think, at the beginning. Then it took a very, very hard 180 back into every single bit that I hated about the first book. So yeah, that was a real turnoff, and I kept going. I really got as far as I did into this purely because I was driving to gaming, and that's like 40 minutes, and so I had the audiobook going, and I had forgotten to download another audiobook. Otherwise, I would have quit it sooner. So the hard 180 really is romantic and emotional. These characters are so full of angst and at an emotional 10 for the entire book almost, for such a huge part of the book. And it doesn't make a lot of sense. We have so many times when there's just no modulation of emotion for these characters. And for them to be at a 10 and have it be effective, you have to have had more calm periods in the book. I felt actively bad for the audiobook narrator because it was just yelling all the time through most of the book. We had so many moments where this is really a war without any fighting. Like, there's no battle scenes, there's no tactics, there's no strategy at all in this book, which makes no sense. And the one battle scene that we had was two characters yelling at each other in the din of battle. And it baffled me how we were supposed to be connected with what was going on in terms of this being a war. There was a lot of like back alley meetup type situations, really. There was no troops being ordered around. It was capturing people and yeah, that sort of thing. So I had a struggle connecting with that for sure. It really felt like it trivialized the war that was going on because they were so focused on family bonds for no reason. Like, it made no sense for them to try and put family relationships above other things when they're on opposing sides of war. That was a real struggle to get along with because it made no sense. They kept saying things like, I think this was repeated multiple times, something like they would do anything or hurt anyone to win the war. And yeah, I mean, if you're in the middle of a war and people are like dying en masse, yes, yeah, that would make sense. But that's saying, oh yeah, they would hurt even our family member who is their enemy at this point. Yes, you would. That's the sensible thing. And the other one that really trivialized the war was the romance. It came out of left field a bit, and at one point I wanted to shut off the audio because one of the characters was sneaking out for war-related purposes, and somebody else caught them and was like, oh, wink wink, are you sneaking out to go meet your crush? And I was like, what? Why would that even be like in the realm of thought at this point? And then our character who's sneaking out goes on a mental reverie about their crush. I was baffled at that point. I could not take it anymore. Yeah, so that just really, really lost me. Beyond that, this hinges entirely on miscommunication, lack of communication. So as I said, there's no battles. So everything that's happening in this story is people saying, oh, well, if I can just go talk to this person. But instead of like arranging a treaty meeting or something reasonable, they try to have back alley deals or these really harebrained schemes to meet each other and make deals with each other and get disrupted. Things go wrong, miscommunications happen, they misunderstand each other, and it made no sense. So yeah, I had real problems with this one. Unfortunately, I think if you like really angsty stories where that emotion is at a peak all the time, this might be for you. I think the world building was the strength of this for both novels, and it stayed a strength here. I do wish we had gotten a little bit more about the magic. So we got a little bit more in terms of world building, yes, but I still didn't understand how the magic really worked or see any much progression of that. So for a book that's so much about magic, I would have loved to see more of it. So that's what I read this week. I am still in progress with my chunky book, The Fall of Babel by Josiah Bancroft. This is the final book of the Books of Babel, and I'm not quite halfway. So we're making progress, slowly but surely. I don't have any timeline for that one, so that's going good. All right, so that's all my reading for the week. For upcoming stuff, let's talk BookTube Prize. So I have got a notebook, just a nice little slim notebook with plain paper to take notes because I'm really getting serious into this. So I've picked up my first two books. As far as I gather, I cannot talk about my thoughts on any of the books, but I can tell you what I'm reading. So BookTube Prize is a yearly prize that breaks down fiction, nonfiction, and this year translated fiction. We got a list of eligible books to vote for 2020 that we were interested in and from doing research. So I did do all the research, and that was really, really difficult to narrow down to 20 for sure. But from those 20, 48 books were picked, and so we are currently in the Octofinals round. So there are 8 groups who are reading 6 books each. So these will be my first 2. Because we read through so many, I don't actually remember the synopsis for basically any, except for this one. So I'm going in pretty blind, and I'm not refreshing my memory. I had read one book that's in the Octofinals round, but it is not in my group, so I'm fine on that. yeah, so I've got these two. This one is There's No Such Thing as an Easy Job by Kikuko Tsumura and translated by Polly Barton. This one, because I sort of know the synopsis, I believe this is a young woman who has a job of drudgery, and she is kind of doing strange things where she's just there to monitor someone all the time, and then finds out maybe it's something more than that. So this one reminds me a little bit of a book that I read last year, The Cabinet by Eunsu Kim, and I think that was translated by Sean Halbert. I will put it down below as always, if that's wrong. So yeah, this reminds me of something I have read before, perhaps, but I'm unsure. And this is one of my bigger books. This one's 400 pages. So yeah, I'm very interested in all of the books. We'll see how this one goes. This one is a shorter. This one's, I would have called this a novella. This is under 200 pages. It's 3 o'clock in the morning by Gianrico Carofiglio, and this one is translated by Howard Curtis. And I don't know anything about this one other than it's coming from Italian, so it'll be very interesting to get into. This one I'm going to try to read this weekend and then get into the larger one for this coming week. So that is what I've got coming up. I won't be able to talk about those, obviously, as I said, so these wrap-ups may be much shorter in the coming future, fortunately, for you guys. I would say I have 4 total of my 6 that I can get from my library. So these 2 came from my library. I have 2 others that I had to order. I was able to get them used. So those are on the way to me now. So whenever I do finish these, I'm going to try to start the ones that I purchased used and get into those and place holds for the next 2 from my library so that I can get into those. And I will obviously be on a deadline for finishing the library ones, though it didn't look like they were super backed up. There weren't tons of holds or anything for those. So hopefully I'll be able to get those all quickly and in time. I have to finish these all by the end of March. So that is my timeline for doing that. And I think in terms of strategy, what I'm going to try to do here is, again, I can't talk about these, so I'm going to just film single book reviews. A lot of people do vlogs, and unfortunately my camera is a little prohibitive on doing vlogs because they don't recombine quite correctly. When I'm talking, the sound gets off. So I'm going to try and do single book reviews and have those all filmed as I go along. So you'll be getting an immediate reaction when I finish the book, but then I won't post them until after the books are knocked out or the prize completes. So then I will have some reviews to post kind of along the way as we go through this, and that'll, I think, give me a little bit to say along the way and mean you're getting a genuine immediate reaction. So that is how I think I'm going to handle it. If you have major critiques, or if you've done this before and have found things that worked better than that, let me know. But it's my first time doing this, so it's going to be very much trial and error to figure out what the heck works for me. But in any case, I'm super excited about it. I'm a little nervous because I am in the group that has the Clarice Lispector book, and I know Britta Bowler loves Clarice Lispector. I've never read any Lispector, so this will be totally new for me. So we'll see how I feel about it. Yeah, so I think that is all for books. I totally forgot to mention, I am also reading on ebook Boys, Beasts, Men by Sam J. Miller, and that's an advanced copy of a short story collection. And I read the first 2 stories this week and really enjoyed them. So I'm looking forward to getting into that more this week. I was planning on taking it kind of slow and just doing like 1 or 2 stories a week, but really got sucked into it. And someone else that I know has an advanced copy of that as well and is almost finished with it and said it's really great. So yeah, so I'm reading that too. All right. In other stuff not related to books, it was a great week for me, a little bit stressful and exhausting, mainly because I had an Outlook migration at work. I'm sure anybody that works in sort of tech fields or in an office setting dealing with that and not having your email all day. My job involves a ton of email. That's primarily the way that I deal with any issues coming into my team. So having that is really critical, and we got migrated on Monday. And that has meant a lot quieter, very much less email, but it's been really stressful. So we spent basically all day Monday trying to get things working and making sure things were migrated, making sure we're on the right sort of account. And things not working. So coming in Monday morning and not being able to connect was pretty miserable. So yeah, so that was very stressful to start the week. And then middle of the week, I got, thank goodness, my sliding glass door and a window that were really bad. Like sliding glass door, I've shown some video before of just solid ice at the bottom. It's not supposed to do that, but this has been in such bad shape since I got this place and finally got them replaced this week. And the new one is fantastic. Like even just from a sound perspective, I have my sliding glass door faces a tree line and then a highway, and it has never really bothered me. It's kind of white noise, but since getting the door, I can't hear it at all anymore, and I'm now realizing how bad it was because I could hear it all the time. So that's been so great, and I can't wait to see my electric bill next month and see, or my electric and gas, to see if it made a real difference. I'm sure it will, because it is now very, very cold again. So fortunately, while it was getting replaced, we were up 40s, 50, and now this morning I got up and it was freezing. I went out to take Cinnamon out and stepped out without a jacket on because I was expecting yet more warm, and it was flurrying out there, the snow coming down, and took him out again. And it was nice and sunny this afternoon just before I started filming. I made the error of going without a scarf, and it was so cold. So we're back to really cold, and I think we're supposed to get some snow again this coming week. So it's very, very up and down here. All the snow melted off almost, but now it's just layers of ice because it melted into water and now is freezing, freezing cold again. So the joys of winter in the Midwest. So watching wise, I hadn't really talked about what I was watching for the past few weeks because I had just been watching BookTube. But maybe a week and a half ago, I started watching shows again and have been just bouncing all over the place. I think the one thing that I have watched from start to finish and just binged through was the new Netflix series, The Woman in the Window of the Girl in the House Next Door, I think, or whatever the spoof of all the domestic thrillers is. I enjoyed it, and it actually surprised me because it is trying to really subvert domestic thrillers, and so it didn't go the predictable route, I thought. But it's just like 20-minute episodes, so it went very, very quick and was super entertaining. So that was good. I also started watching Halston again, another Netflix series that is like, I think 70s show about a fashion designer. And I thought I was super far into it, and I had only watched two episodes before I paused it. So this was getting back into it. And it reminds me a lot of Velvet and Goldmine, but with fashion. So if you like the tone of that, it's very flamboyant and over the top, and really enjoying the performances in there. The woman that they got to play Liza Minnelli is amazing, amazing. What else? So I also started Murderville, which is so funny. I have watched the first 2 episodes. It's like an improv show where it's a police department, and these famous people, like actual celebrities, are coming on without a script to improv to everybody else. And it's just ridiculously funny. I think the first one was Conan O'Brien and the second one was Marshawn Lynch. And so they have to actually improv along for the scene while also trying to solve the murder that the show is about. So yeah, it was really, really entertaining. I have still been watching Bob's Burgers here and there, so that I have continued on with slowly but surely. I think I've got like 70 episodes left. It's such a long show because I've been wanting to watch all of Bob's Burgers from start to finish. I have mentioned this before months and months ago, and I'm just now kind of getting back to it. So the recommendations for this week. I have many recommendations this week. We had a great week. So the first one is an actual BookTube recommendation. That was Cousin from Always Doing did a lovely, lovely video with the most positive vibes. Books to read when the world is on fire. So definitely go check out Cousin's video. Then I discovered that Kate Moss, the author, has a BookTube channel. Did not know that. So she does videos that are like almost like a Friday Reads, but they're Moss on a Monday. And she just picks a few books and talks about those few books. And so it's a very professional version of a Friday Reads pretty much, but it's so great. I'm really, really enjoying those. So definitely, if you were like me, not aware, she has a very small channel, under 1,000 subs. So definitely follow Kate Moss. The last one was an author discussion that was so fabulous. Laura Elena Donnelly just put out a new mystery thriller with some speculative elements called Base Notes. And so she did an author event with Murder by the Book, who is a great bookstore that focuses on mystery thriller crime stuff. And this one is all about perfume. So a guy is making perfumes from dead bodies, which really sounds like a familiar tale, but the kind of speculative element is that these perfumes allow the person who uses them to actually relive a memory, a moment in time. And in order to do that, they have to kill people who were there at the memory. So yeah, it sounds like a great premise. And what I love so much about this author discussion is that she actually like spent most of the time just passionately talking about the nitty-gritty of perfumes and the science of perfumes rather than the book. And that was so fun. So I really, really recommend checking that out. I have the book already on ebook. I think I got it from the Kindle First program. And I think I have all her books actually. See, she had previously written the kind of fantasy Cold War thing, I think. The Amberlow dossier, which I've got the trilogy and I haven't read it, so I really need to get into it because she was fabulous. So definitely check out that. And then the last one was just an article that I read this week from The Cut. When did reading become a competitive sport? And all about the harm of comparing our reading to each other. So really enjoyed that one. I know we've talked a lot about goals and people constantly pushing themselves to be productive, and this had some things to say about that. So yeah, I liked that as well. So I think that is it for me this week. Thank you all so much for watching. If I could fly, I would head further south. I'm making a friend at the shelter, picking up supplies. This guy is ear-tipped, but he is clearly not feral. Hi, are you friendly too? Hi there. Hi. This one also wants to go home with me. So many good cats here. Blinds are the most interesting thing in the world. Wow, what is that, Rue? What was it? So we're at a park near my house where there's a little free library. And it was like a maze getting here. I've never been to this one before. Through streets that all have the same name. So this is very much embedded within a tiny little suburban neighborhood. And we are going to see if I can swap out a book here at the little free library. So I've got my copy of The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg. This one is an ARC, so it can't be resold. So I'm gonna put it in the library. Looks like they've got a couple of rows of stuff in here. There's an Agatha Christie. I may have to take that one. And these all look like children's books, maybe? Okay, yep, I'm taking And Then There Were None.